All right. Well, here we are. Welcome back to Amavision. And here we are today with Ruth from the number one Tip Top League. And she's in from the East Coast. So welcome, Ruth.
Thank you very much.
And just before we get going, how does it feel to be here in Denmark in December when it's kind of dark and cold?
I'll say it's interesting. Interesting's good.
Interesting. Well, at least it's not, it's not snowing yet, and you look at that. But the darkness is rather difficult. But I think it'd be interesting for us to share a few of your thoughts here concerning, if you wouldn't mind, about what it is being an elite woman athlete. Because if you've been following the news in Denmark, especially with the game yesterday against Italy, with the national team, there's been a lot of focus, especially with other sports which have equal payment, talking about salaries. How does it feel for you to be, and can you give your thoughts a little bit about what it is to be an elite woman athlete?
I think right now is a great time to have this conversation about women's equality when it comes to the payment gap in sports. Being from America, we see a very top-notch competitive levels such as the Division I collegiate level and the WNBA, and you still see some of the best players in the world going overseas, playing year-round, compared to the NBA or Euro leagues when they just have that one focus. So just because women have to go through this, put their bodies through this, be in game mode year-round, others might think it's a little discouraging, because you have to put this immense pressure on your body. But I think, especially right now in Denmark, having the national team back again, and the prominence and dominance of women's basketball that's coming, it's a great time to just make this conversation the forefront of basketball. Just continue to talk about it, make sure it's present, and just keep being aware.
And on that front, what lessons can perhaps we learn from the United States, which is further advanced in terms, as you say, are there certain lessons that perhaps we in Denmark and the Nordic region can take away, in your opinion?
I think in America, especially because you have to pay for tuition for college, the competitive level starts at a very young age. It was honed in on me and really driven home that if I want to go to school for free, I'm going to do it through basketball. Of course, there are other of course, there are other avenues in terms of academia and things of that nature, but I found it best for me to approach it through the sport perspective, and I chose basketball. Yes. So from that, it kind of makes the competitive level at a younger age so much more serious.
More serious.
Yeah.
I think that when she's hitting on a point here, which is interesting, that in America, there's a tremendous focus on your school activities. Growing up in Chicago, where they're playing ice hockey, I remember doing everything for my school. When you show up at BK Amager, it is a club, and having a club where you can have an influence on girls and boys as well that are as young as 7, 10, 14, and they look up to you because they will see you at the practices, they'll come and root for you at the games. So 2 questions for you. 1, how do you feel about this sort of attention? And 2, what part do you enjoy about being a role model?
I grew up in a very big family. I'm one of 10 siblings.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm the first girl, so first daughter, a lot of responsibilities in the household. And we all live in the same house. So growing up, it was never, ever quiet. But you learn a lot about sacrifice. You learn a lot about the fact that you have younger people looking up to you. So from a very young age, I took on the responsibility or understood the fact that there is somebody behind me that's watching me. Yeah. And I think that just being from a large family and being one of the elder siblings and knowing my siblings are looking up to me, not just in terms of basketball, but what I do when I go to school or what I do when I hang out with my friends, it really puts things into perspectives, and it gives you a certain type of discipline.
But it also gives you quite an amount of responsibility at a rather young age. And maybe, when you wanted to go out and play and be with other things, you had other priorities. How did you organize that in your head to deal with the children?
I definitely gave up a few things in terms of, sleepovers or parties and things like that. But that's where I grew for my love of basketball. Basketball was my sanctuary. It was my quiet place. I could go outside and I told myself, get X amount of shots up before you go home, and just having this me time. And I think if I were to give any advice to the younger kids out there is invest in yourself, invest in your basketball, invest in your school, because you are your first priority. And you can't always have your coach with you telling you who to, like what to do, what trainings to do. It all depends on you.
That is very, very, very sound advice, and I hope everyone pays careful attention to that. Just one other thing, we're talking about Denmark, we mentioned the weather. Have you been able to adapt to the language at all? Have you been able to grasp certain things, or does it sound like seals clapping?
It is, I'll say interesting again. I think that I was in Spain last year, and the Spanish culture is a little bit integrated with America, so I could pick up on little things really quickly, and then I come to Denmark and I am absolutely baffled. My jaw drops.
Porque quiero saber este momento. Vamos a decirte solamente una cosa. Now, can you hold on for 1 second? I've come up with something here.
Okay.
Now, what I've done here is, you can see, this is a word. Now, Danish, to help you out. If you can't see this says, not rent corpse heath. And this is a Danish word. I want to show you that Danes like putting words together.
Okay.
And this is the word ulejligheden. Okay, and this means inconvenience.
Okay.
So I've done this, it goes from not rent corpse heath to ulejligheden.
Okay.
So now that you've learned Danish, I've come up with a different solution for you. I prepared something here, and I'd like you to read these out loud and tell me what it is.
Okay. Uninhabited island of flax.
Correct, yes.
Breastfeed field.
Yes, this is good, yes.
Hair Bulgarian currency. Stream City High. To be unite. Something in Finnish. And Extremity Cove.
Okay, so do we have any idea what this is?
I have no clue what these string of words
know
are.
what this is, and I'll explain it to you very clearly.
Okay.
Because it is, in fact, well, I guess I'll just have to go like this. But this here is, of course, uninhabited island of flax is Hersholm.
Okay.
Breastfeed field, ama. Here, Bulgarian currency, Herliu.
Okay.
Stream City High, Obuhoi. Okay, to be, to untie.
Oh, untie.
Värlöse. Something in Finnish, I think it's sisu.
Värlöse.
And finally, Extremity Cove. What do you think that would be? Lemvik.
Lemvik, okay.
So obviously these are your opponents, but you have number 2. So listen, we'll end with that, but I want to just say thank you very much. And before we do you have any final concluding things, hopefully in English, not in Danish, to impart before we go onto the air?
No, I just think come out, support women's basketball, and that's it.
You know what? You've got my vote. Thank you so much.
Thank
This
you.
is Amavision signing off.
Bye.
Bye.